en dröm i natt försöker ju älgpjär. Which means, I dreamed a dream last night of silk and feathers. So it's quite pretty. It's not what you might expect Viking music to be. It's not, let's go and kill all the Saxons. Although that would be cool as well. So I'm going to do one little one with where the words come from the Poetic Edda, and then I'm going to do Völuspá, which is a request. I know an ash tree named Yggdrasil, covered in hail that water white. Thence comes the dew that flows through the dale, that grows evergreen from earth's spring.
Hello and welcome back to the Will I Vike It podcast. My guest today is Gemma Parker, otherwise known as the Dark Bardess on YouTube and social media.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we are going to eat whilst we do this, because normally we do food at a slightly later point, but we've both been working all day. You've been performing.
Yeah.
I've been cooking food. And I offered to feed Gemma in exchange for the option, because all the Vikings have gone to the pub. Mm-hmm. So they've all gone to eat burgers, and you promised you'd stay behind if I cooked dinner. So
That seems a good swap, I reckon.
so we've got some venison stew, we've got some black breads, and we're going to eat some cake as well, because why not?
Yes. Yeah. No,
Which we can talk
good,
about when we get to the
stew.
cake.
Yeah, it's very good stew. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I guess we'll start off explaining what it is that you do and why I've got you on the podcast,
Yeah.
in case anyone doesn't know.
Collared me walking around. No. So I'm quite a newcomer to this. So I didn't start reenacting until just before lockdown. So I think most of the guests you've had before are a lot more pro.
No, we've had a bit of a mixture.
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough. Fair enough.
yeah. And I kind of like getting people that are lesser known on, give people a platform, you know.
Oh, thank you. So I started doing music. It wasn't ever a plan to do. I certainly never planned to. That the idea of videoing myself singing and putting that out on the internet was never. It's not something I'd have normally gone for. I started playing. I think I was stuck down some YouTube wormhole at some point, and somehow. Yeah, I know. And it was about 10 years ago, and found someone talking about, it was Michael J. King, and he was talking about the lyre, and I thought, that's really cool. I really want one, but I don't know why, or what I do with it, or when I play it, or anything.
It's like one of those weird destiny things, isn't it? You just need one, but you don't know why.
Yeah, so I didn't. I was very sensible. No, I was working in London at the time, really busy job and everything, and didn't get one. And finally got one, like 7-8 years later. And I've really enjoyed playing it. So that's kind of what I do when I'm doing living history, and then started doing a few little gigs here and there.
Do you have past music experience, or is the lyre the first?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, I did keyboard and clarinet and stuff growing up.
Yeah.
And I kind of tried to play electric guitar, but there's a lot of notes on a guitar. There's a lot of, mathematically, that's a lot of combinations, which is a bit overwhelming. So, and also I don't know what you do with a guitar. Obviously, I'd print out the tabs and learn a song. So I might say, I want to know the solo from Black Sabbath Paranoid or Guns N' Roses or something, and I'd sit there and learn the solo.
Yeah.
But I thought, do I just sit here and strum this for 3 minutes? what? And I'm not in a band or anything, so I just sit here in my spare room and just strum. That just seems a bit random. And I don't know anyone that wants to be in a band, and I don't play well enough to be in a band. And this is just like a loop. If I'm not good enough to be in a band, then I can't. There's no point playing it. Was my kind of backwards logic. Whereas with it, you don't need to be in a band with this. You can just play by yourself.
You could make a new band.
Yeah. And obviously it's only got 6 notes, so that's a lot more manageable, a lot less daunting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can see that.
I thought,
Yeah.
I can do that, and then it will be a lot easier than a guitar. That's the only reason I do it, really.
So it's a bit like me. It's a hobby that's got out of control.
Yeah.
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 So you're playing for yourself initially, and then you've been asked to perform.
Yeah, it wasn't planning. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was during lockdown, and it was like between lockdowns, and I met up with some kind of reenactment friends in some woods. It sounds really dodgy, but it's not.
Not to me, that sounds like standard behaviour.
Meet up with random Viking people, and I was just playing a couple of songs, and someone that kind of half lived in the woods came and spoke to me and said, do you play at people's weddings?
Yeah,
and
this
stuff?
sounds
I'm
like a fantasy,
"No."
like background. This man approached me that lives in the woods. And
The lady that lives in the wood, and she said, no, we're having our hand fasting. Would you come and play for us? I'm like, if you're happy with the fact that I'm quite new and I said, what kind of songs do you like? And she said, well, we really like Led Zeppelin. I'm like, woo. I mean, Led Zeppelin's fine, but it's not the easiest thing to play on the Anglo-Saxon lyre. And the vocals are, not everyone is Robert Plant. So I seem to get myself in these situations where I just be like, sure, I'll have a go. Yeah. I don't know why. So then, of course, I spend the next few weeks thinking, how on earth am I going to get, what was the song? Going to California on a big jet plane. I've forgotten how the melody goes, but and to be fair, I think it just about worked. It obviously was different, but yeah. So that was the song at their hand fasting. We're in the woods, in amongst the trees, and I played on the way. I played the big drum on the way in, and then played that. So that was the start. That was the start of it, and then I was doing stuff, living history, but playing outside. And you know what it's like when you're doing reenactment is you're often in the middle of a field and it's raining and it's windy and you're playing this acoustic instrument that's just getting carried away on the wind and trying to sing with it, and it's just kind of like, and it can be a bit frustrating, but it's lovely talking to people, and I love so many people come up and say, oh, what is it you're playing and how does it work? So the interest is there because people haven't heard about it. And I think that's the thing for me that's really fascinating, is that there's this whole history of music. People know about your Tudor music and green sleeves and recorders and violins, but like the Viking, Saxon, there's no awareness of that. And people will go to Sutton Hoo and see the ship burial and see the lovely reconstructed lyre there. But what did it sound like? We don't know. So that's always been fascinating.
Yeah, we don't even know how they were played, do we? So we've got...
No, there's a picture of King David, and he's holding the lyre, and he's got his hand, and he's doing this. So he's not plucking it like a modern harp.
Sort of strumming.
Yeah, exactly. It's like block and strum.
Right.
So clearly, if King David, we don't know. It's possible that whoever did that manuscript didn't know. But it looks, he's holding it like you would. It looks like a decent picture of a lyre. I don't think they would have made it up. There's something written in one of the manuscripts about how they were building Whitby Abbey. Yeah. And it's Cadman's hymn. And they're passing around. They have a Yeborschiffer. Probably haven't pronounced that right. But a beer sharing, basically like a drinking around and sitting around and drinking. And the harp is being passed around. And everyone plays something.
Oh, right.
It doesn't matter whether they're like the master craftsman or like the little boy that mixes the cement.
That would terrify me.
Yeah, exactly. So Cadman the cowherd was in the room and he saw the harp coming towards him and he thought, I don't know what to do with that. I can't sing, can't play anything. So he made his escape But it was okay because he went. There was an angel that came, and then magically he could play and sing, and it was all fine.
Okay.
So that's what.
good.
It was a miracle. It was fantastic. But for me, the interesting thing is that he was the only one that couldn't play something. So everyone else, and it's a bit. I mean, a guitar being passed around a campfire now, if one was passed around, I wouldn't be able to do anything on it.
Yeah.
You know, apart from like a few seconds of a snippet of something that I learned ages ago, I couldn't do a song. But lots of people would be able to, even just with like 2 chords, sing a basic song. And I think that's probably how it was. You can imagine someone saying, well, this is one my grandmother taught me, or this is one that I learned from some trader or something.
I'm on the highway to hell.
Yeah, AC/DC, I haven't managed to get any of their songs to work yet. Like Metallica, fine, you know, but yeah, AC/DC, no. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. Was I was doing something at Westow, reconstructed Anglo-Saxon village in Suffolk, and again I mentioned something about I'll bring my harp, my lyre along at the weekend, and someone got in contact and said, we're looking for someone that does that. I'm like, really? There's people that go around looking, and they were playing at it was a community event about the village. It's called Aldrich in Cambridgeshire. And they're saying, it's our 950th birthday, and we're doing or 950th anniversary of something I should remember, something very important. Battle of Aldrich, maybe? Anyway, Hera with the Wake. So fighting off the Normans, and this is Anglo-Danish, Danelaw, all gets a bit murky with the definitions at that point, but at 1070, the Normans have not got much of East Anglia. They've got bits of East Anglia, but the fens are still holding out.
Yeah.
So something about this anyway, they wanted music. So I was just, attended some village fete, which again was not something I'm not advertising village fete, Anglo-Saxon lyre services. But
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole market out there. And it just kind of went from there, really. And then I think Jen, who you've obviously works here and who you've had on the podcast a few times, keeps somehow getting me involved in all these random things, signing me up for things and saying like, I've got this friend that does that. So it wasn't part of a big plan. I think I was doing some of the videos that some songs I recorded and shared on a lyre forum on Facebook. Yeah. And then I was thinking, well, I don't know, did I upload that? Where did it go? And my husband suggested, well, how about you do a channel on YouTube? I was like, no, that's the last thing I want to do. Like, why would I do that?
It's terrifying, isn't it?
It is.
Putting yourself out there for criticism or...
That's one bad bit, but the worst bit is then if you ever watch it back and you just
see yourself.
Why you just want to press delete? Like, why did I know? So it is. It's quite daunting, but I thought, well, I'm not forcing anyone to watch it. It's more educational in a way. Like, it's like, this is what I did with it. If that's useful, because I learned from quite a few other people that posted stuff on, and they're not saying I am the world expert in Anglo-Saxon lyre and this is how you play, but they've just done a tune, and I think, he's doing something different from that one. How does he do it? And you watch it back and you think, he's doing that finger. So it's that kind of thing. I think, well, I'm not expecting someone to look at it and think, oh, wow. It's not about the skill or the voice or anything. It's just, I wouldn't have thought you could get that song. I think that's part of the challenge for me, is trying to get songs to work on it. Because we don't know, there's nothing that survives definitely from that time.
But the idea of kind of doing modern, mainly rock songs, which I think is probably quite unique to you.
It's a bit niche.
But it's good.
Death metal on the lyre. Yeah.
But that idea sort of came from that one lady in the woods.
No, that's just because I listen to metal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was a seed that grew. So were you already doing that when she asked you to do that cover?
That's a good point, actually. I probably was doing. I think I was trying to play something else. Sometimes, because it's only got 6 notes, there's a limited combination, and I was trying to play something entirely different, and then I was, that sounds like Metallica's Unforgiven.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, I can't play that in that song. So, but I think it's just more, when you have a song stuck in your head, and it just makes me think, I wonder if that, like the tuning's similar, like Iron Maiden work, that the tuning, I think anything, is it A minor? I don't know. But sometimes you just hear a song and you think, yeah, that might work. So it's mainly just a kind of curiosity thing. Yeah, and if I like the song, then I want to play it. Some things work and some things don't. And also I'm quite relaxed about it. Like I was doing Helvegen earlier by Woodrunner, and someone said, you know, how do you get all the notes? It's 2 chords. It's literally just like 2 3-note chords. And I'm sure Einar Selvik would play it with many more combinations, but you can get away with doing it with 2. I think I might have put a third in at some point. But so I just think, well, if it works and it gives a rhythm, and really the focus is on the lovely words that he's written and the concept, and then it's just providing the emotion. You know, you have the bit where it's, if you've got something quiet and somber, and then you've got a bit with more emotion to it and a bit more motion, more momentum, then I think that's what it brings. And I think the actual intricacies of the notes, there's a place for that, but sometimes it can just be really simple if the melody is strong enough to carry it.
Because there's even an element of what you do being like, let's say you mentioned Einar Selvik. So Einar Selvik's got a very particular style, and you do start to see other people that tried to almost replicate that. But you've kind of done the same songs, but you've done it your own way as well, because you mix in a bit of translation, don't you? So you'll sing alternately in the original and then into English, so that people know what you're singing. Yeah, and that kind of, it's a good take. It's a good way of people.
Well, I think it's difficult if I'm, like I was sat here today, and you know, if you're singing a 6-minute song in Swedish, or sometimes a random dialect of, I do some songs from the Faroe Isles, and I'm sure I get loads of things wrong in the pronunciation because I speak German, but I don't speak any of the Scandinavian languages. And I can listen as well as I can, but I'm still going to probably accidentally insult somebody's mother or call someone something insulting instead. But yeah, I think to have something, I mean, to carry on with the example of Helvegen, it's a lovely song with a melody, but once you know the story behind it, and people in the room, you can see them really, the concept lands, you know. So even if it's just one verse, and you say, who will sing for me? You know, and explain beforehand. It's and he does when he's performing as well.
He does. I've seen him do. I've seen the full Woodrunner performance, but I've seen him do this sort of solo. I think he calls it Skaldic. Yeah. And I've seen him do that as well. I've seen his talk up in York, where it's more talking than singing. But there's a couple of songs in, and he explains the process. And
yeah, exactly. So I think to put a bit of whatever it is, whether it's a traditional song, the same with some of the Faroe Island songs. And I love the fact that they've got that oral culture. And part of what the point that I make, like today when I was performing, is I'm saying that they've got this song about whether it's, I mean, there was a bit of a revival in the 1800s, so some things were partly drawn from there, but some of them do go back, you know, 1500s or earlier. We don't have that because we keep being conquered. You know, the Normans came, and there is no evidence for this, but I've read it somewhere, and I love the story that the Normans outlawed the Anglo-Saxon harp. Now, I don't know if that was an actual, I'm sure if it was an actual law, there would be some evidence for it. But if you think most of what the songs are it's basically publicity spin for people's lords, or it's, you know, how fantastic our culture is, or my lord killed 3 dragons and slayed many people in this battle. You know, so the Normans don't want people going around going, you know, that landowner that you kicked out, he was really big and really strong and killed all of his enemies. You know, that's not the kind of, not what they want. And, you know, it's successfully been transferred from the secular to the religious, because they were, like, monks were playing them. There's some abbot, I think, writes to his abbotty friend saying, he says, what has Ingelt to do with Christ? And Ingelt's one of the characters in Beowulf. So clearly the monks are sitting around in their monasteries, drinking ale and singing like quite or telling the stories of quite pagan. I know there's Christian bits in it nowadays. I don't know if there was then. But telling that kind of story, they're not just like, let's just have a good sing-song of psalm number, whatever. It's telling good stories about monsters and swamps. So it survived that, but it didn't survive the Normans. We don't have that culture anymore.
Yeah.
And I know in Ireland, very strong storytelling tradition, but English, we don't get taught Beowulf in schools in our native language. It's a kind of an oddity from the past.
I don't think we did it in school.
I think nowadays they do. I've been quite impressed with some primary school children that come in actually quite well. But it's not like lived on to the modern day.
Yeah.
You don't, like, I think in Finland, they get taught the Kalevala, I think is how you pronounce it, like their mythology. And I think most people will be able to, they will be familiar with the stories. Whereas, we're not brought up with that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's nice to say this is what they've got in the Scandinavian countries. And just think what could have been lost, how many stories have been told in places like this. That, I don't know, have not stood the test of time. I
think I'm going to pause briefly so you've got a chance to eat some food. Because you've
Sorry,
talked a lot.
Do
you want me to pour you some cider?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I've got some, this is Cranbourne Chase cider.
Lovely.
Which has been on the podcast. Bill Meaden, the owner, has been on the podcast before.
Lovely.
This is a medium sweet, so he does sweeter stuff. Do you want a full cup?
No, half's good.
Half cup?
Thank you.
Yeah. Picked it up on the way here yesterday.
Sorry.
We'll give you a breather so you get a
Sorry,
chance to eat some food. Okay. Are you? I mean, you can still carry on eating.
Yeah,
don't get me
I'm pretty
wrong,
much. I didn't want to eat like a big bit of meat when there was camera because I thought like.
I've learned to eat side on to cameras.
Okay.
I don't know. It's slightly better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll drink cider.
I eat on camera a lot, but
Yeah.
when I first started doing any kind of video content, I was really worried about being criticised about my voice or talking shite, basically. And I soon realised that nobody seemed to care. And that's when I started to be a bit more silly on videos, like just doing like the kid if I cooks with ocean, and just nobody. I was thinking someone's gonna go, what is this bloke doing? And no one said anything. And so then I've done some really silly things that were kind of me messing around on camera that weren't supposed to go out, and I've watched it back and it's kind of made me go, and sod it, I'll put it out anyway.
But that's what makes it you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you're silly, but it makes it human.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to watch a, BBC documentary on today, we will be talking about, and keeping it very formal, then they do that. But if they want to watch a human doing it.
Yeah. Not a robot. There's a video of me at Butzer that someone thought was a robot initially, until obviously it got going. But the initial of me, because you start off, you're a bit wooden on camera because you're nervous. And so there is a video of me, and someone was like, when it first started, I thought that was a robot.
Wow, sex and foraging robot with forage elderberries.
That's going to be the conclusion. At the end of all my videos, when I quit, it's just going to be revealed that I was a robot the whole time.
Just AI creation.
Yeah, it was all AI. But no, what I was going to say though is that once I got more comfortable being on camera, I then became conscious of eating on camera. Especially if I've just like made a recipe and then you end the video and you're going, yes, and like reacting to food and like just eating on camera became the weird thing.
Yeah, that is an occupational hazard with doing food podcasts.
So you do kind of look side on. I find, because if I'm this way, people can see what's in my mouth. If I'm this way, they can see. The other thing I notice is how expressive I am when I'm eating. I do a lot of eyebrows.
Oh, whenever I watch a video back of mine, my eyebrows are always doing this. Or I'm just looking. And I know I do odd face things because any photo, normally 99% of photos people take at events, I'm just doing ridiculous faces. And I presume I do them in real life. I don't think the camera likes me. I think it just takes like the most ridiculous gurning pictures. And then occasionally someone will take a nice picture and I think, oh, that actually looks like... Because when you look in the mirror, in the morning, brushing your teeth, you're not talking or singing or, you're just neutral. Same here, but so you actually see a picture of yourself thinking, oh, I actually look halfway normal there. Not completely mad. But then I'm also very conscious of when you're performing, not being wooden and just, because you could just sing something, but it's not just... There was a fantastic storyteller here this morning, Lizzie Bryant, and she's, when she's telling her story, she's using her whole body, and the wolf broke out of his chains and
Yeah.
the dragon swooped. It's all very. It's not just telling the story; you're acting as well. And I think that's the same with this. As I find myself, I think I play mainly with my left hand, which is apparently odd. But I think I like having a hand to wave around and just like.
But if we don't have any historical precedents for it, no one can say.
No one knows they didn't wave their right hands around.
Unless we had a manuscript where someone was actually.
Yeah, well, King David looks very austere doing that, but maybe afterwards when he was.
Yeah.
But he was a king. He probably have brought up to be not gentlemanlike.
Yeah.
Is that a word? Does that sound a
I
bit
guess. Gentlemanly.
gentlemanly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing though, is that I've realised from watching myself how much you go hello and all this stuff. And it's just like, what am I doing? Like
Yeah. But then is there a halfway house between and hello, today we will be cooking
yes.
blood pancakes.
Today on the news.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. It's finding that balance. But the first time I watched myself back, it reminded me of, did you ever watch that Mitchell and Webb look?
A little bit, yes.
And there's a scene with the presenter and he keeps he's very, as he's talking, and you need to keep your arms out, and then after a few takes they end up like tying his arms and he's
Yeah, that's what I need, I think. Rein in there, yes.
I don't know, I think we just end up overthinking it.
Yeah,
I think people see that as expressive, I don't know.
yeah.
Sorry, there's a tiptoeing Ocean checking on the camera.
She's going to ask a question.
Yeah, Ocean, do you want to come over here and ask Gemma the question you asked today when we were outside? Because you asked me and I didn't know, but it's a good question.
Is it about cake?
No.
No.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah. Why are they called a liar?
So there's a technical reason and a sensible reason. A liar is a Latin word, and these are not Latin, these are Germanic. So in Old English, it's called a harp. So if you read Beowulf, people play the harp, and in Old Norse, it's the harpa. Whereas the lyre is for ones they used in the Mediterranean, and we don't like Romans or Normans. So we use the
Unless they
Germanic
want to come
word.
on the podcast.
Of course, that
In
would
which
be
case
entirely
we'll
different.
be civil.
I think technically it's because this bit, the soundboard, is parallel to the strings and not perpendicular in a harp. So technically it's a lyre, like a musical expert would tell you it's a lyre. I will tell you it's a harp.
I
And I
guess
have no
if you say
experience.
harp, people think of a harp.
If you say I play the harp, they would expect you to have some great
Yes.
big concert thingy where you can play loads of notes and you're a fantastic musician, but this is 6 notes,
Yeah.
slightly more basic.
But it's a great question, Ocean. Well done.
Yeah, it was a good
Go on,
question.
you can go and eat your cake now.
Great.
Thanks.
I think you should bow.
Woo! She's off to eat cake.
Why not? And a special cake. It's a special cake.
We do. So we have the cake here.
Ta-da.
Anyone that's got Eat Like a Halfling will notice Gemma featured in Eat Like a Halfling.
Eating cake.
Eating cake. No, wait, there's a cake opposite you.
Yes. And
And
I'm
I'm-
looking at the cake longingly, having to play my harp, but going cake, cake.
I must admit the images were placed kind of evenly throughout the book. So they're Andy Chorley. I'm going to try and get Andy on at some point over the autumn when they're recording again.
Yeah.
Because he does fantastic portraits of
He
people.
does,
And
really.
he was kind enough to let me use them in the book.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there was no particular reason I put you next to a lardy cake.
Also, I really like cake.
Well, there you go then. It worked out.
Yeah.
There was a part of me as I was putting people throughout the book that I thought, will they be offended that I put them opposite?
Lardy cake. Yeah, because
don't know.
lardy means like plump, doesn't it? Or, well, a bit of a lard. What would you call someone? It's more a lard ass, isn't it? It's more. I didn't take it personally.
Yeah. And it's sort of my take on a lardy cake because it's done in a bunting, so it's a nice round sort of crown shape.
It's very impressive.
So it's a bunting lardy cake, which has a
Can
piece
work
missing
as a hat.
for some reason. As you noticed, Ocean was eating some.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Is it
Almost
good?
gone. Shall we cut you some more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you
alright.
like this bit?
The whole entire.
Is it good? I haven't tried this cake yet. Is it good?
Yes.
I mean, I've tried the original recipe, but it's been a while since I made it.
Is Ocean your poison tester?
Yes. If Ocean drops dead in a minute, we don't eat it.
Yeah. So it's got lard in it, obviously, but you were telling me
Yes.
that I can replace the lard for butter, or a 50-50 lard butter.
I know there are recipes out there that do a 50-50 lard and butter,
Okay.
but this version is lard. I know it's called a cake, but it's made with bread flours and yeast. So it's kind of a bread, and you make a bread dough, and essentially you put a mixture of mixed spice and cinnamon, mixed fruit, and blobs of lard. And you kind of fold it in on itself and roll it out again, and then do another layer and roll it in. So you end up with like a layered.
So it's like a cinnamon bun in cake form.
Yeah. But as I say, it's more because it's bread flour and yeast and stuff, so it's a risen dough
Enriched.
rather than a cake, which is usually like baking powder or.
So it counts as healthy.
It's got fruit in it.
It's got bread flour and fruit.
It's
That's
got
like
some
2 of my
sugar
5 a day.
and most of a pack of lard in it. So do with that what you will.
So what does the lard? How does that? Why does that? What's the difference between lard and butter in baking terms?
That is a good question.
Because lard, I lived in Austria for a few years, and I love mince pies, mincemeat, and I was living with an Austrian boyfriend at the time, and I was saying there's this thing we have, there's mince pies, and he thought it was like minced meat. I'm like, no, went through the whole history of it.
Traditionally,
yes, yeah, exactly.
And
but
in fact, in Eat Like a Halfling, there's a version with venison mince in.
Nice.
That I made.
Yes.
Yes.
I should try that one.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, and you can't, and it was suet. That's not lard. Sorry. Completely random tangent, but I'll just finish the sentence.
Go for it.
And I was, couldn't find suet anywhere, and I was trying to explain what it is.
Yeah.
Like it's suet. Like I didn't know what the German word or Austrian word for suet was.
It's basically the fat from around the organs.
Exactly. So you look it up, and it's like, and so he went to the market for me, and went to a butcher's stall, and came back clutching this bag of it had not been processed.
Yes.
Of the
Just
relevant,
fat.
the fat around the kidneys, is it? And he's like, I've got it, and I couldn't bring myself. I was like, you're used to buying the little blue and yellow packets that come in a nice little plastic.
I have a packet with me for
there we
making
go.
dumplings.
There we go, exactly. So,
Because lard tends to come in a block.
Lard, yes. So what's lard?
I think mostly we use pork. Don't quote me on that these days. Pig fat.
Is it like rendered down?
It's rendered down pig fat.
Okay.
Because you can render it from other animals, because we have done it with deer, and I think deer fat doesn't store well as far as I understand it, so you can use it when it's kind of fresh, but it goes off within sort of a day or two, I think.
So is it the same as tallow? Or is tallow different?
I think tallow is beef. I should know this stuff, shouldn't I? I'm like the food guy.
I'm asking the
she's
questions
catching
now.
me
I'm
out
taking
all
over.
the difficult questions.
Sorry, you can
No, I
edit
don't
that bit
know. I think they're very similar.
Okay. But clearly it works differently to butter.
Yeah,
It's,
and I know like
and
you
it's
can
cheap.
make candles from tallow and you can make candles from lard, but they're both different types of fat.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I need
But
to
clearly
do
it works in
research.
cakes.
What will probably happen whilst we're talking now is I'll pop some message up at the bottom that says, "This is bollocks. Lard is this. Tallow is this."
Yeah, I'll stop asking silly questions, sorry.
It's not a silly
You're pointing a knife
question.
at me now. Like, now, okay,
Yes.
okay. No more questions, I promise.
I asked the questions. No, I don't know the difference. And I guess because they're fats, I mean, anything that's a fat's going to work. Because essentially what you've done is put blobs of fat in between layers of the bread, which then melts. So you end up almost like a flaky pastry effect. Because you do that with when you're making flaky pastry.
It was like yeah.
Yeah,
You've got
almost
them marbled.
marbled. It sort of separates out. So I guess sort of the layers don't stick together, do they? So it would probably work with tallow just as well.
Yeah.
But traditionally in England, it's a lardy cake.
You know
so
what I'll be
it's-
doing next time someone's got tallow candles? I'll just be scraping out the tallow and mixing it with bread flour and fruit. Like,
then
who's
spread it
stolen
on
the
your
candles?
Yes.
Don't trust me near your tallow. I was going to ask, can I nick a bit?
No, I'll cut you a slice.
Cool.
We'll be civilised. So a lot of the recipes in the Eat Like a Halfling were kind of
thank
based
you.
more on traditional English recipes,
I think that
old
fits
fashioned. Go. Yours?
Yeah.
I thought that was your slice.
Yeah, it will be later on. Yeah. But it reminds me of like the what is it, kotbula? Like I don't know how you pronounce it, but the Swedish and Danish, the cinnamon buns.
Yes, it
Like
is
it's a bit like that, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Who says English food is boring?
This is Viking food now.
Well, no, we've crossed over into halfling territory here. which I wrote because of Fog on the Barrow Downs,
Yes.
which, as we've already alluded to, you were involved with.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm getting good at this presenting
Smooth,
stuff,
yeah,
aren't I?
good smooth segue, yeah. That was another random, just, I think, again, that was Jen. I've got to blame for that one. I think it was just doing this thing. Do you want to drive like 5 hours and at the middle of winter and join in? I'm like,
Yes.
I think, was it during it wasn't during lockdown, but it was just after lockdown.
It was the first time you came when we met, because we met in here,
Yeah.
and you were just practicing,
In
and
this
I came
very
in.
room.
Yeah. Oh, the history.
Yeah.
And I came in because Ocean was wondering what was happening. And I was a bit like, are we allowed to come in? You're practicing? So if it was then, that wouldn't have been a lockdown.
No, was it December 2021 then? Okay, but it was still like there was still
Yeah.
being things. I think by that point I was just sick of my family and wanted to get out. So we had the excuse like,
Drive 5
whatever,
hours, yeah.
justification to be
Not
away.
being paid. Doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah. Why not? Yeah, but also what you just have to take opportunities and chances, don't you? And like roll the dice. You just have to do something.
And when Fog on the Barrow Downs comes out in 2056 or
30,
whatever
yeah.
you've planned now, I don't know.
No, but it's also it's really, it was so lovely to be part of.
Yeah.
Because it's, like I said when I started it, you're
Chop the
throwing
food.
raisins at me now. There's lost music, and like I said, when people asked today, well, why did you start? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why I started. And because you can't, it's not the kind of thing you can walk into a music shop and go, excuse me, do you have any Anglo-Saxon replica lyres? And there is a shop called the Early Music Shop.
Yeah.
They don't have any. Like, there's literally nowhere you can just, unless you go to some of the big reenactment events. Yeah. So the idea that someone would be interested in what I was doing, was that, would you just be like, nah, can't be bothered? Take opportunity. You don't know what's the worst that can happen. They can go, well, thank you very much for coming. Yes, we'll just cut that bit out, which is fine. So if it's not in there, and you say when it comes out, and people are like, there was no lyre music in that, that will be why.
So you're badly dubbed over the top.
Yeah. Well, I can't even remember how the conversation started, but there's a bit that Tolkien wrote, and it's a poem that I think the Barrow Wraith says, and I don't know whether I suggested I put it to music or whether that was something that Andy asked, and again I was just like, never put anything to music before.
Take credit.
Yeah,
Take credit
why
for it.
not? Yes,
Take credit. You did it. It was your idea.
Yeah. And I think I just kind of said, yeah, I'll have a go. And of course you start playing and then just like, no, this sounds like a nursery rhyme or, something really basic. And then I'm like, oh, I like that chord. That's nice. And then, I think that sounds all dark. Yeah, I like that one. And then I ended up with something I thought, actually, I quite like that. So I took a little recording just on my phone and sent it and said, if it's any use, I've done this thing to the thing that we mentioned.
Yeah.
And he either did or was just being polite and said, yeah, why don't you come down? Well, we'll put that in.
Because you also did you played a little bit during the feast scene that we were recording.
Yes,
didn't you?
I think I did that one particular song.
Was that song? Was it?
Yes, I think I did two. I think that one and then another one. Yeah. But I mean, to be part of that, so you're doing all the lovely food. I think you had the salt dough venison.
Was that when Caroline was here?
Yes.
Yes, past guest again. Caroline Nicolai from Pario Gallico. We just ended up somehow, I don't even think it was planned, we just ended up in the kitchen.
Yeah.
She was here.
You just had a haunch of venison in your rucksack.
No, so initially I was asked if I could butcher a deer, which I think might be a background shot.
I mean, that,
as
yes.
I think Patrick came in to the site. Yeah, initially there was that scene that they then wanted to use for the feast. Because I think we'd come for some recording beforehand and Ocean had got sick. So I didn't end up recording. So I was meant to have like some words and stuff. Didn't really want to do. But Andy had convinced me that I should be. In fact, the initial meeting when I first met Andy was him walking across the site. I've probably said this because Andy had been on before, but he walked across the site and he went, "You look like a dwarf. Do you want to be in my film?"
Charming.
So yeah, so that got me involved. So we did this.
Line.
We did this butchery thing, which ended up doing some food. And Caroline was here, and I think she wanted to do a bit. I think she helped me with the butchery.
She wanted the membrane for something. I think she was.
She was doing some crafts. I think she did the skin as well. So I've got the hiccups now. Cider and cake.
Best combination. It's amazing cake.
But
it's really cinnamony. I really like it.
She'd bought some other stuff, just bits she had lying around, and I had some stuff. So some of the stuff that's in Eat Like a Halfling was just us going, well, let's put this with that and do this and that, and made up that little.
But there was carrots, cumin, and like feta
It
or
was
something. It was
caraway seeds, carrots, and goat's cheese.
It was amazing, and there's so much because we all had it cold because of course the filming had to be done with all the steam artistically curling.
By the time we
towards,
recorded,
and then we were just like really hungry. But it tasted very nice cold, and I'm sure hot would be even nicer.
Yes, and we did other stuff. We did like it was woodland mushrooms with kale and.
Yeah, that kale was amazing. Yeah, hazelnuts in it. Yeah, and you had venison. Was it venison loin sliced? I remember that cooking over the fire.
Yes, there was venison loin.
Nicely.
And yeah, there was the salt dough haunch. We did. Someone had pre-made some. I think they were meat mince pies.
Yes, they look. Yes, I didn't get one of those, but they looked really good.
Yeah, and so a lot of that stuff from that actual shoot is the pictures that are in the book.
Yeah.
Because again, Andy just sent me them all and was like, "Here's all your stuff." And I did come back at a later date, and we did like the. I don't think you were there then, but we did whole poached salmon.
I get invited.
Make food for people and they invite you back.
Yeah. That's where I'm going wrong. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was how we got involved with it. Was initially as extras, and then they'd just done, shop bought pies and stuff. And I was like, well, if you want to do a feast, this is what I could do. And that's when the deer got involved. And
yeah. But that's what gives it. Obviously, I haven't seen the film because it doesn't exist as a film yet. But the little bits that I've seen, it's very clearly not a shop bought pie. It's very clear, and that's what takes you into that world, is there not just the lovely scenery of the long haul and the lovely decoration they did, but it's very clearly made by a human or a dwarf.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be in. I mean,
dwarf kitchen slave.
I think I'm dressed like this, so it's sort of but I'm not a Saxon, so I don't know how they fit me into the narrative. But
demand your own spin-off.
They've cut me from the film. It's just my food.
Be the dwarf forager.
I don't know. The dwarven forager.
Yeah.
It's got a ring to it.
It has.
It does.
A ring to it. Sorry.
Wow. Yeah. And then in that scene when you were playing, though, do you remember it took a few takes because they couldn't break into the salt dough? And I remember posting up with their permission. I'd done a little video from behind.
Yeah.
And now for the carving of the meat, and they couldn't break through the salt dough because it's so tough.
Yeah.
And they used my Sayax as well, and it was like it just wouldn't go through.
I guess is it a blunt Sayax?
No, it's sharp.
Oh, it's a proper
it was
one.
a sharp,
okay.
yeah. It's just such a tough crust.
Yeah.
I think they expected just to carve a piece of meat, and salt dough, you're not going to do that.
No, and I didn't realise. Thinking about it logically, you're not going to eat salt dough, but I was thinking.
I've had people do it.
Oh really?
Yeah. I don't know why. It's 50% salt.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a heart attack waiting to happen.
Yeah. But I guess I was just thinking it's dough. I was like, that's very blackened. Does this guy know what he's doing? I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. But no, it was beautiful and obviously very sensible. And I was just being thick. So,
if you don't know though, and you see this black
cooking
thing, you're just like, okay, are we eating that?
Yeah, I was like, it's been cooking a very long time. But no, obviously completely makes sense when you think about it, which I hadn't. But it was amazing to be part of that, and because people get into reenacting because I don't know why people do it, but a lot of it is sitting around in cold, windy fields, and
getting wet and
getting which is fine.
Yeah.
But to be in an actual reconstructed, obviously we can't get back in time, but I think the closest thing we can do is be in the buildings that have got the atmosphere to them, and with people dressed up. And I know that one's a mixture of whether it's fantasy or whichever period, but it takes you back puts you in a different time.
Yeah.
And it's an experience. I mean, who wouldn't want an experience? We're stuck at my computer working during the day or whatever, and then being a mum and employee or whatever, and then to actually live a bit in the margins when you get the little time to actually do something for yourself. I think it's a fantastic experience. So, yeah, I was definitely happy to do that.
It's the interesting thing with reenactment, though, isn't it? You do, you spoke about opportunities before, and you just end up with these. And if you're willing to say yes to stuff,
Yeah,
like
can get you into all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, some of the stuff I've been asked to do or invited to do, and you're just like, again, why me? What? You're asking me? Oh, yeah, okay. Even from me starting to teach people to cook, and so can you do this? Yeah. In fact, initially I was due to do my first course was with someone else, and they pulled out, and it was like,
All right.
and
You've now the star attraction.
yeah, the guy from who owned the site was Moorforge up in Cumbria, and the guy was just like, well, if you still want to do it, you can.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I guess I could try. And then other people heard about me doing it and went, oh, you do courses? Can you do courses for us? And before you know, and if you say yes, you do get Andy saying you look like a dwarf. Do you want to be in my film?
And you going, yes.
No, yes. And being asked to be on Channel 5.
Yeah,
Like,
TV star. Yeah.
Like, and it's easy though to go, I'm not ready for this. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and they were like, well, we found you online, like as an expert in food, and you're just like, yes. And you do, and it works out fine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And what you have to think, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
I like I've got two kids, and my eldest is always like very nervous about doing things, and I'm like, what's the worst? It's probably my catchphrase, or that and worst things happen at sea. I get told off for using that one for some reason. But
do you know the song?
What worst things happen at sea?
Yeah.
No.
There's a guy I like called Frank Turner.
Okay.
Complete tangent there. Is a sort of folksy sort of singer, and he has it's quite an old song for him now because he's been going for a long time. But he does have a song called "Worst Things Happen at Sea."
Oh. There we go. I think she doesn't like it because of the sarcasm that comes with it, probably, rather than the words. Just with the Channel 5 thing, the worst thing is that they don't use it. And
Which
they
didn't when they asked me to do Nefertafel.
Oh, really?
So they did a separate scene and that didn't make it. And I'm like, oh, that was obviously bad.
But then they take so much, don't they? I know the few times I think I'd had the very first time, the first event I did with this. So I got this in, I think, like early February 2020. So like just before COVID. And late February, there was a second reenactment event I'd ever done. So I did one in the previous autumn in like completely borrowed kit, very much, I don't know what I'm doing, but I've just turned up to see what it's like.
Yeah.
And then February was my first one, still partly borrowed kit, but I think in this, like still I haven't finished actually making my dress, but fine. And of course, when you start playing that and the local TV crew were just like, oh, hello. And it was hailing and snowing and it's right on the cliff in Sheringham.
Hello.
So awful weather, and it like for a first reenactment event, it was a baptism of fire,
Yeah.
And straight away the TV crew were just like, let's do this, and I was like, I had this for about 10 days, and they said, well, can we film you? And I explained, I didn't just be like, of course, this is,
Yes.
I did say, well, and they're like, well, that's fine, it will be, and they did put a mic on and everything, and when they did show it, it was you couldn't really hear much, which is completely understandable. But no, we were kind of singing around a small fire, looking like very cold, invading Vikings. So you don't know. Yeah. They must have taken hours of footage over the whole, and then they've got to put together 3 minutes. And,
few clips. Yeah. It's amazing how much goes into these things. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, from editing this.
Yeah.
Or the maybe your I can't say Nefertafel properly, but the
Nefertafel.
That one.
Yeah.
Maybe that will be an own feature.
Yeah.
Feature-length edition. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you just dropped the H, so it's like Nefertafel.
Nefertafel.
Yeah. Most people call it Taffel or King's Table.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was going to mention actually, because we should probably get onto the bonus questions and stuff in a minute, because we've been going for a while.
Yeah, sorry. I chat too much.
No, it's all good.
If you feed me with cake, I'm going to sit and chat while you give me cake.
Eat cake.
Yeah.
It was just like, I was going to say, because the way you got into reenactment was kind of different to most people, because most people get into reenactment and then go, what am I going to do as a craft?
Yeah.
But you saw the...
Yeah.
You saw that 10 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
The lyre or the harp, whichever we're going to call it now.
Yeah, I think he called it a lyre, so that's why in my head it's with a lyre.
And so then it took you a few years to get one, but then you got one, and then you got into reenactment to justify.
Yeah, effectively, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like I say, when I first saw Michael King doing it, I thought that's amazing, and I want one, but I didn't know why.
Yeah.
And I didn't know much about history. Like, I didn't do history GCSE even.
Yeah.
But I'd been to Sutton Hoo. I come from Suffolk, so Sutton Hoo in Suffolk. And I remember, like, before the current visitors hall was there, I remember going there way back.
Not been yet.
No,
Never been.
you should go.
I should.
It's good. You can hear my live music being played. And
You can sit next to me, Ocean, but you need to sit quietly. 'Cause we're still
she
recording.
wants to be next to the cider and the cake.
Ocean's back.
Sensible girl. Yeah, I think they're playing my live music in one of the videos somewhere. Yeah, but it just think, well, what do I do with that? So yeah, when I tried reenactment and the first group I tried, because at the time I thought, well, if I'm just going to play like, what, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, what would I play with 6 notes? You know, surely you can't do anything useful with 6 notes. Just play in my spare room by myself. There's no point. And the first group I tried, back then, I just didn't. It wasn't me. I was a very demure Christian lady with a very tight wimple and a spinning thing that required patience and behaving, and I could see like hairy Vikings at the other side and was just like, I want to be with them. And I just went home, I think, somewhere down the M1. I wasn't very good at driving then, so it was a big thing for me to drive that far. Yeah. And I just stopped at a service station and just cried. I think rang my dad and was like, I'm just trying to make friends, but they're all odd. And I mean, all reenactors are odd, and that's perfectly fine. And I can say that now because I am one. But and then just promptly didn't do anything with that for many years. Yeah. And then it was maybe it was probably after. That's been before COVID, but I think when my kids had got to that kind of age where you kind of come out and you think, who am I again? I'm not just mum. Yeah. Who am I? I'd kind of forgotten. And I think we went to some local event, probably just to kind of what can we do to entertain the kids. Yeah. And we saw, it was Woofer, because they're the local group to me. Yeah. And so I joined. I was like, how does this work? But I thought, then I can get Lyre. So I must have been looking at it again. And I remember joining them, but before I joined, it was like, this showed them a picture. I'm like, this is what I want to get. Is this the right? And obviously there's a time, because Sutton Hoo is 6:25. Yeah. And there's a Viking group that does like, I think 8:70. But I didn't know then that Vikings also had harps or lyres. So yeah,
no, it's interesting though, because I think most people do get into reenactment and then find a craft, but you've gone.
I think I've been, because I've been in about 5 different reenactment groups. Yeah, I think most people go into it and people are just, because I think lots of people start reenactment and then think, well, what do I do? You sit around all day. Whereas I had to do natural dyeing as well. Yeah. So I like the mad scientist bit of that. Some people do it very methodically, whereas I'm just like, I like adding things to water and seeing. It's basically like a poof to come out. Yeah. Yeah, I did like scientist degree, so that's my kind of science there, I think. I try to do different things, and then want to do a little bit of rune stuff as well. Hence why you very kindly brought me the deer bones. Yeah,
got some roe deer bones, which I've hung on to for a couple of months now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So you can inscribe some. Is it Saxon?
Yeah. Well, it's one of the earliest runes, runic writing found in Britain. It's from about 400, like 410, like really early. And it says, I think, Raihan, I don't know how to pronounce it, but of a deer, from a deer. And it's written on a deer bone. And I thought, I'd love to, because I want to do it, there's a bractea as well that's quite early. And I thought, I love the idea about doing it's a very famous, the Undley bractea. And I wrote a song about it and stuff. And I'd like to do a copy of it. And I thought, well, I could have a little runic display. This is like not Viking stuff. This is way before the Vikings influenced here. This is pre-Viking. And who do I know? If I wanted to get like a deer foot,
who do we know?
So obviously, hi Craig, random question. If I wanted to acquire a bone of a deer,
I'd be more disturbed if you'd said a human bone. Look, I need a human bone. Can you get one? So roe deer, fair enough.
Yeah.
And you're not the first person to ask me.
No,
I've been asked for bones before.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they do kind of ask, would I like it clean? Like,
Would you like the deer attached to it, live, dead?
Yeah. I can't do that. I don't know
How
how
exactly?
Yeah, I don't know how you do the gory stuff. I know when we were filming the Fog on the Bardess scene with the skinning the deer, which was, I think I was being a random villager and yes, skinned it, and I'd never, so it's, yeah, I don't know how you do that. You clearly have a strong stomach.
It's not so bad when you get your hands on stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do deers a lot now, but other stuff like, I don't know, like gutting an animal or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're particularly pleasant. Put my teeth in.
Yeah.
They're not particularly pleasant jobs.
Yeah.
But they're just something that you've got to do it,
on,
and
yeah.
so you just get on with it. And once you start, it's fine. It's almost like a mind over matter. Like once you start, you're just like, right, we're going to do this now. And you just, And I think with deer butchery in particular, it's less. Everyone that comes on courses go, oh, there's less blood than I thought there would be.
Okay.
I think it's a cleaner thing because they've already been drained and usually they've been deheaded and gutted already.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get heads and balls and stuff still on them.
Okay.
But depends on the day.
Yeah.
But they're always gutted at least. So
Okay,
they're not.
so
They've been drained. So
enough,
it's a fairly clean. It's like not being
dealing with
fair,
raw meat.
yeah, it's like having a chicken, but you have to skin it first. Which maybe it's not for everyone, but it's never as bad as people think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So the only other thing I was going to bring up, because we should just plug what you do, is where you were yesterday. So you were on the main stage at Valhalla Festival, I believe.
The main stage, the only stage. Yeah.
I don't know. Is it the biggest Viking UK festival?
I don't know.
It's a Viking festival.
It's a Viking. Yeah, I'll go with that. It's a Viking festival. I was on a stage at a Viking festival.
What's it? The third year now.
I think yeah. Yeah. So
I don't know much about it. I know a couple of people that are involved. Like I know Bob, who runs the bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, put it down there. Why are we whispering? We're on a podcast. Put it down there with the other bread. It's a good job they can't hear you.
Anyway.
Valhalla Viking Festival. I think, as you say, it's quite niche what I do. Like the idea of playing. There are people that play the instrument fantastically well.
Yeah.
And everyone's got their different style. And there are people that play it, and then people do it in bands. I thought you were going to steal the lyre then. Don't touch the lyre, not that one.
We already have a lyre, it's fine. We don't need another.
That's true, yeah, of course, Emma does it. So to do what I do, which is like rock and metal, and some of the folk stuff as well, and anything I like, which is a random mixture.
Yeah.
There's a very niche audience for that.
Which goes to Valhalla Viking Festival.
Exactly. You get the biker crowd in there, and you get kind of the pagan folk.
Yes, because it's not particularly, and this isn't like a slight, but it's not like a reenactment event, is it? It's people that there's a bit more laughy Viking as well as.
There's a lot of people that are very inspired by like the Vikings TV show and by Last Kingdom. So I saw Uhtred yesterday. I was at least one Uhtred.
Oh,
not
the Uhtred.
I didn't think he was the real Uhtred. I think he was
walking?
not. Yes, so there's a lot of people wearing and a lot of face paint.
Yeah.
But you've got the full crowd there.
Do you get does John still go there? Does the firewalking stuff? Because he did the first.
Is it Logie?
Logie firewalk. Yeah, he still does that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have ice bathing as well.
I've done some.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he started doing that as well.
Yeah. So yes, it's run by Skull Vikings.
Yeah.
So it's kind of there, and it's a kind of unusual festival because it's like a not-for-profit one.
Yeah.
So they organise it and run it, but it's not a big one.
So the money goes into what next year's
pot,
making it bigger and better.
Yeah. So they ask people to come down and volunteer.
Yeah.
If people come and volunteer and help run it, then they get the tickets included, for example.
Yeah.
So yes, it's different from a lot of other places, but no, they had some lovely. Sulphur was on there. So yes, please have a little bit more. Thank you. She was doing songs from her new EP, so that was lovely. And that's Amber.
Amber, yes, I was going to say Amber. Yes, I've met Amber a couple of times. I do
Yeah. So again, it's where else could you? Obviously, you've got the really big events like Midgard's Blot and everything, but where are the small versions? Where people, when they're just starting out, or people. There was I think I was probably the least experienced one on stage. Some of the people on there were professional musicians, and
Just put it down on the side, love.
We want to eat it now.
Well, you can eat it now because you dropped it on the floor.
it's chalk. It's probably good for you. It will neutralise stomach acid. I don't know. Sorry, he's an overthinking scientist.
Motherly advice.
Yeah,
Just eat it anyway. Get on with it.
it'll be fine. Yes, so it's
Yeah.
nice. It's wet, because where else would you? And obviously, I mean, today to be able to play. I mean, there must have been. I don't know if there's 100 people in here, but it was more.
I mean,
than,
over the
more
day
than
we had
50.
what 320 or something
Yeah.
for the day on site, but I don't know how many were in here.
Yeah, there was quite a lot for the first set. There was quite a lot.
I mean, it went
Maybe
quiet. It was
50,
dead
actually.
outside.
Okay.
There was hardly anybody around, so I think.
Was it
most
raining?
Of,
No,
it
it
was
was-
no, of
yeah.
course not.
No, but I mean, to have
Yeah.
that many people, and all ages as well,
Yeah,
is quite unusual.
yeah.
So yeah, it's all useful experience.
Mm.
Until I work out, do I like performing or not? Because I know some people just say like, no, it's just too much stress.
Yeah,
And like yesterday, I made loads of mistakes in my performance yesterday, and then of
Yeah.
course the whole evening I was beating myself up about it.
Yeah.
Especially when it's mic'd up and you've got the monitors pinging your mistakes back at you, and then you hear the mistake, and then you're thinking about that, and then you miss the next one. So.
I suspect that no one noticed but you.
Yeah.
It's one of those that the audience
Yeah.
probably just
There I had them thumping on the tables with their fists and singing along, and I was playing anything from we had Metallica, we had Amon Amarth, all sorts of
Yeah.
random covers and sea shanties,
Yeah,
yeah,
nice.
random stuff.
Yeah. So one day Midgard block.
Well, like probably original stuff. I don't think I could really go there and do covers. I think that would be a bit.
I think they'd be happy with that.
Yeah, but they have the real thing now, they don't know. But one day I do. At some point, I will. I've got some. I did some of my own songs today and
Yeah.
yesterday. So
Yeah.
one day when but the covers are really useful to find out what works
Yeah.
and what I can do with the instrument and what I can do, because I've not had any vocal. I've never had a singing lesson, like apart
Yeah.
from at school when they, So you only know when you try something.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit there and just go through loads of vocal exercises. Whereas if you try and I was trying to do Zombies, Cranberry, I thought something about Ukraine, and it was in my head, and I just
Yeah.
thought, I wonder if you could do that. I thought, no, but she's got that. She does that lovely yodel thing, and I wouldn't know how to do that. But you keep trying, and you think, oh, actually,
Yeah.
I can have a go at that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the Ocean's gone to sit quietly over there whilst we finish, and then she's going to have some popcorn. Because bribery.
That's how life works. That's
Yeah.
parenting. My parents.
The joys of being a kid when you've got a reenacting, podcasting, YouTubing dad.
Yeah. All the bonuses. And she gets food.
She's had a lot of food today. She can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, very last questions that I ask every guest.
Yes.
Starts off with the first one, obviously. Where else would it start? First question is, if you had an unlimited budget, what would be your dream project?
Two things. I'm going to do one because I can see it. No. Either to do like an album, because studio time's expensive, and
Yeah.
which I would like to do. I've got some songs partly written, but it's like, how do you justify time in amongst all of the things of life? How do you justify time to do that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Whereas obviously if you had budget, then well, that's fine. And the other thing would be, I want to do history videos about the people that played the lyres and about the grave
Yeah.
finds and the history of it, because I don't think anyone's done them. And I would have loved to just watch like all the stuff that I've been reading archaeological reports about, and like the
Yeah.
specifics of, are there any women lyre players? What did they play on it? Were there travelling minstrels? Were they all this kind of stuff? I'm trying to do lots of research as a
Yeah.
non-historian, so
Yeah.
to do something
Yeah, I
like
don't know
that.
anyone that does that, actually. I know
Yeah.
people that are very knowledgeable on the subject.
Yes, I could just ask them.
You could, but then the videos aren't there, so someone
Yeah.
still needs to make that content. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just things like I was saying, there's one that's been found, is about to be published in the next couple of months, and of course all the lyre players, they're all buried holding their lyre like this, and one had two sets of spare strings in the pouch, because of course when you get to the next world, and you've got your harp with you, what happens if a string breaks? So for me that just makes it come alive. So anyway, so something
Yeah.
about to
Yeah.
try and convey that it's not just an instrument, it's part of the identity. So I would
Yeah.
love to delve into that, and I'll
Yeah.
probably do it at some point with like PowerPoint and a YouTube and a voiceover, but it will be pants.
But if you had an unlimited budget,
Yeah, then it
you
would be
could
a
quit your
profit.
job,
Yeah.
learn video editing and
Yeah.
design, and
Unlimited.
have a whole
Someone
team.
else would do the video.
yes, that's true.
editing,
That
'cause
is true. Unlimited budget, you'll have a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A whole fleet of video editors.
Yeah,
Yeah. Location shots, recreate the grave.
nice.
Well, yeah, I did. It wouldn't be a YouTube one. It would be like an actual, not like everyone in the country must watch this. I meant more like what you do for Channel 5, to have something like that, but on like the Anglo-Saxon. There was a fantastic programme on one of the BBC things
Yeah.
about Welsh with Michael Sheen in it. And he was talking about Welsh, I don't know, fantastic. So that kind of
Yeah.
thing, but
Yeah.
Anglo-Saxon.
The next question.
Mm-hmm.
Could you survive on a Viking Age diet?
See, I think I could, but it wouldn't be as nice.
With no
obviously.
cake.
With no cake, see, that is the problem, isn't it?
I mean, your venison
but-
and vegetable stew, that was all very
It was all lovely.
Viking stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't have any. There's no fundamental like some people, if they don't eat, gluten and dairy and something, you can imagine that would be difficult. But I do like all of the food that I've ever had in a reenactment thing.
Yeah.
But there would be things that I'd miss.
But that links straight into the next question,
There we go.
which is there any food you'd miss on a Viking Age diet?
Probably the most pathetic thing: potatoes. Like a good baked potato with butter and salt and pepper.
Links back into the Hobbits thing again.
Potatoes.
Boil
Yeah.
and mash and put them in a stew.
Stew, exactly.
Yes.
But
I
also
made
like-
sure to include all three versions in my book, I might add.
Good, exactly. Yeah, so because I was thinking, because I asked, because I've seen obviously some of your previous podcasts. Sorry, I do forecasting as part of what
This
I do as
side
a
is
job.
strong,
so
isn't
it's
it?
just like, yeah. And I was asking Carl, my other half, like, what would I miss? She's like, and he actually said spogs. You know what a spog is?
No.
A spog is, licorice all sorts.
Yes.
They're like the little dotty ones, little
Okay.
blue or
Yes.
pink.
Are they called? Do
And
they
they've
have a
got
name?
Fennel spogs.
Didn't know they had a name.
Oh, when you buy them in kilo packets, they do.
Interesting.
No, I get one every year for my birthday. Is it a kilo or half kilo? I don't know, like a decent sized packet. And then you decant them into a little pot for me.
Wow.
Ration them. And I don't think they had them in Saxon times. Viking times.
No.
No, but it's jelly sweet. I love all jelly sweets, wine
Yeah.
gums, whatever. But I guess you've got gelatin. And, okay, so instead of dill, you have fennel.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be, I don't know, you're the, there you go, there's your
Okay.
challenge for the next one.
Can I make a spog?
Can you make a spog?
But they've got like, that coating is got to be sugar.
They've,
It's like
yes,
hundreds
maybe,
of thousands.
Yes. Maybe not
That's going to be
hundreds.
a struggle.
Well, they could make very nice jewellery. I'm sure they could make a spog.
Something similar has come up before though with the idea of gelatin, because when I had Hamish from Victoria Leather
jelly
on
beans.
jelly beans, and
Yeah.
someone did comment underneath about access to jelly
Yeah.
gelatin.
But aspic? No? You
The
just
problem
make fennel
again, I think,
aspic
was
would be-
because I did look up how they make jelly beans, and I think the problem was the coating again.
Okay.
And they're not really a jelly bean without the shell.
I'm not too fussed about the outside of the spog. It's the like aniseedy, fennel-y,
So you need some
Caraway,
kind of
and the
fennelly
jelly,
gelatin.
chewy bit. Yeah.
But even that needs some kind of sweetness to it, because if you just had gelatin, it wouldn't be sweet.
No. No, and I don't like aspic. Like when you have meat in aspic, it's a bit odd.
Funnily enough, after Hamish came on, I messaged one of the big, I can't remember their name. Well, I think I can, but I'm not going to say. Because I sent an email to ask whether they'd be on the podcast, and they didn't respond. So there you go, you missed your opportunity to come on this.
Yeah. There's a whole market out there for reenactment
That
sweets.
one- yeah.
Deprived Vikings that have spent all day just having, lovely, but it's not peasant
At
food.
the time,
is it?
I
What
just
do you
thought
call
it would be amusing to follow on from Hamish with a jelly bean manufacturer. But they never got back to me. So, any jelly bean manufacturers that are watching, I know that it's probably your favourite history podcast right now.
Yeah.
Get in touch, and we'll sort something out. And then maybe we can make some kind of, what are they called again?
Spogs.
Spogs. What's the worst thing you've ever eaten?
I think brain. I didn't really mean. This is when I was living in Vienna, at the company I was working at, we would have a quarterly thing, like a meal with a boss, and he ordered brain, and I don't know why.
Just brain? Is it some kind of dish?
Just remember it. It was on a dish, but like, I mean, it wasn't like a quivering. I don't know. They seem to like brain in Austria. I don't know. I don't know.
Done it once.
Yeah, I wasn't as maybe as bad as I was expecting, but I think it was more just like a mentally no.
Psychological.
But maybe that's just me being a wimp.
No, I found it an odd experience. Strangely creamy. And I'd made a dish out of it, which had tongues and cheek meat and caraway seeds and leeks and onions.
Caraway seeds, leeks, absolutely fine with all of that.
Tongues, I'm a little bit. They taste fine, but again, I've said this loads of times. People have heard this, but
if you're eating your own tongue.
yeah, you've got a tongue. It's just a weird
two
sensation.
tongues in my mouth is wrong.
Psychologically. But the brain, I felt like you could have just done that and put a bit of cream in.
Yeah.
That was it. So it wasn't unpleasant, but it was just that psychological of this is a brain.
And the fact, I don't know whether he ordered it to intimidate me or something, or whether it was just like, I'm going to see how you react, or like, fine, I'm going to have like a Wiener Schnitzel or something really, really basic and touristy.
All right, so next question is, what's the most memorable meal you've ever had?
You know what, I'm actually going to go with the one that you cooked for Fog on the Bardess, because...
Should I get up and bow now?
I think you probably should, yeah.
I've asked this question so many times. You're the first person to say, your food, Craig.
I thought that's why I was here. No, but like, it's because it's memorable, right?
Yeah,
Not,
memorable. It doesn't have to be
say
good.
Not good.
I mean, it was shit, but never forget the shits afterwards.
But it's memorable. I mean, when else is someone going to have cooked a giant bit of venison over a fire for half a day that you've seen the deer. Sorry,
Good
turn to actions now. You've seen it being skinned next to you, and now you're having it for dinner, and that I've never had. Nowadays in our modern, you don't. You get venison when it comes in a little plastic packet from the supermarket. So to have that brought out the fire, black and crusty, and
thinking, what the hell have I got myself in for?
No, and all this fantastic, and it was just a feast, because especially it was done for the feast. That would never be done for me, unless you had it was like some great big wedding party or wedding banquet. No one in their right mind would have like two personal chefs. Obviously, they weren't personal for me, but when you're sat there and you've got the food in front of you.
Is that what you had in your mind at the time? This is being cooked for me.
Yes, that's what I thought.
I wasn't paid to be here, but I was invited because these chefs are going to cook for me.
That's the only reason I came. Yeah. It's worth a 5-hour drive. So it's definitely memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
And it tasted good, I should point that out.
All right, so the last question is, you've died.
Oh,
sorry.
That's not a question, that's a fact.
All right, but there is a question. It's linked to a question.
I'm dead now, I can't answer.
No. There is that. Yeah, depends what you believe, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've died, your family and friends are preparing your grave goods.
Okay.
What food and drink are you taking to the feast in Valhalla, not the festival that you just spoke about? The actual Valhalla.
Baked potatoes, butter, salt, spogs.
Spogs? As a side?
In the potato. No, no.
Spog sauce.
Oh, no.
That sounds
I should
so
say
wrong, actually. I don't know why. But.
I'm sure it should be something much more glamorous than that. Like a really nice, like a hog roast would be quite nice. I'd like to think if there's enough of them clubbed together, they could do like a hog roast or something.
Yeah.
Maybe not a whole hog roast in a grave.
We're just going to pour a bag of spogs into the grave.
Yeah.
And a few jackets.
Some future archaeologists will come there with unusually high sugar content in this grave.
And potatoes.
Yeah, I'm sure something more exciting than that. But that would, if it depends if you're like, what would they eat, or if we had to send them into the next world where there may not be a supply of these things.
Then they're quite good options.
Yeah.
Because it's not what you'd expect in Valhalla.
No. It's not written in any of the sagas anyway, but maybe they missed that bit out.
Future Saga, which is probably a graphic novel. Copyright that quickly.
Yeah, very niche audience for that one.
Yeah, but it does. It's come up before, I think, where people have said it depends whether as well it's is it what would people put in my grave, or what would I take
Yeah.
to a feast?
I mean, if you've in there's I've written a little song about it, but yeah, when you're in Valhalla, the idea is you've got the goat Hadron that resurrects.
Yeah.
So you eat it all, and then it resurrects the next day. So I don't need to take goat with me.
No.
Because there's enough goat.
Yes. It's like mead. Why would you take mead? Like,
Yeah,
there's
'cause it
gallons of mead.
Fills.
Yeah. So you don't need mead. So
Yeah. So take the things that will be in short supply. Might make you friends. I don't know.
You know, like.
It's a bit strategic about this. Sorry.
No. I've gone on a slight tangent because you haven't mentioned a drink yet, right? So bear with me. But I'm thinking that you must have done the thing where people put like jelly beans in vodka. So
No, I wanted to after I saw it. Partly just because of the colours.
Yeah. You do Skittles, like any sweet.
Yeah.
I've got something here actually, which we could quickly sample if you want to.
I'm up for that. Yeah, I don't have another
It's an
cup
interesting.
unless I
We
down
weren't
the
planning.
cider,
This
which
wasn't
is-
planned, but
Okay.
because I was just thinking, what about spog vodka?
Ooh.
So you
that'd be
dissolve the
similar.
spogs in the vodka and then drink the vodka.
Well, they have they have a like anise, like a bit like pastis because that's anisu flavour, isn't it? And there is hierbas, I think, how you pronounce it with the Spanish, but there's a
Don't know.
Spanish drink. We went on some family holiday to Menorca when I was about maybe a little bit older than Ocean, probably I think I was about 8.
Yeah.
And we went around a gin distillery, and I loved this. And there was just loads of little tiny samples of gin, and you could just look. And there was
How old were
Turkish
you?
delight gin. Not old enough to drink by quite a long margin,
Yeah.
but it's fantastic. And there's all these interesting, and like chocolate gin and everything.
Yeah.
And and one of, I think it's a gin that they have, and you can buy it like when you go to the airport, they have it in the fancy bottles to tourists. Why not? And it's got a stick of, I'm guessing fennel, but I mean this is my,
Yeah.
So the flavour is there, whether it be vodka or something with a bit of the bitterness or.
I mean, we've done a version of a wine where you get a really cheap dry wine, you mix honey and fennel into it.
Yeah.
So the flavours do work.
Yeah.
So spog vodka coming up.
And I tried to do mead, and it just was the most disgusting. Yeah, the most disgusting drink I've ever had was my attempt at mead, which really was making me retch and quite horrible.
Mead's come up as worst ever. In fact, Patrick from Fog on the Barrow Downs.
Yeah.
It was a mead he made that was something was wrong with it basically, and it was off in some way.
Yeah.
We never got to the bottom of what it was, but it's
No, that's one of the things that I'm happy to pay for. I'll just buy the mead and know that it's not disgusting.
There's some really good mead out there these days as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Very quickly then, to end.
Yes. Mystery
black liquid.
I had a very random thing that reminds me of is that I have a jam jar at home with dead tadpoles in, and it's the same colour.
I don't know whether to ask you why or just leave it there. I mean, should we just leave everyone
That's why
guessing?
you should have the Patreon cut then. I think my children stole them for grandmother, and the plan was to put them into the pond, but it got too close to the hob while it was waiting to go in there, and it's been sat there for a year, and it needs to.
I understand
be
that
thrown
they
away.
died. Fair enough.
Throw it away, and it's been sat in my kitchen for a year.
This reveals
And
a
it's
lot.
the same colour.
And so you see that basically every day, but you don't.
Most days.
But you don't deal. You just
It's
like
now outside.
those are the
I put it
dead
outside last
tadpoles.
week, but I haven't tipped it away. But it's outside.
I mean, so you're gonna have to like taste it or something now.
So that I'm worried. This is what I'm worried about.
All right. So no, this is not dead tadpoles. Wasn't aware that people kept dead tadpoles in their kitchen, but all right. We're learning a lot today. This is so it's a sweet that I got from Danish reenactor friend. Well, she's actually my group leader, Kirsten. And I thought they were Danish sweets. Someone online corrected me and said they're Finnish, so I don't know. I've not checked into that. Danish friend got them. She's Danish.
How many letters did it have in the name?
They're called Turkish Pebba,
Okay.
which is Tyrkisk, Turkisk Pebba.
Okay.
Pbber, I think.
Okay.
They're basically salted licorice.
Okay.
They've got a sort of bitter centre to them when you suck on them for a while.
Okay, as if the salted licorice wasn't already enough.
And
of a
initially I was a bit like,
confusion.
oh, this is weird. And then she gave them and said, oh, there's a thing we used to do, I think as students, where we dissolve them in vodka. And it's a dangerous liquid to drink.
Yes.
So she
Many
went,
things
you
students
can
drink
have the
are."
rest of this packet and try it.
Okay.
But gradually, because they're in my kitchen, I would just go.
Mm-hmm.
And gradually I got through most of the packet. So I had to buy some more.
Okay.
So
yeah.
this is from some that I bought and then mixed with vodka.
Oh, right, so good then, if you wanted
Yes.
to eat
If you
them.
like salted
Okay.
licorice.
Yeah,
But
undecided about.
I quite like,
Yeah.
I mean, feel free because you've got your cider. If you just
Yeah.
want to like from the bottle.
Is that
No one
okay?
else has drank from it.
Okay.
It's all, yeah, it's clean.
Okay.
It's,
I trust in you.
it's
just
vodka, so
what
it's
germs I
sterile.
give you.
Um,
smells
but
nice.
yeah, we'll end on a taste of Turkish pepper, which
Smells a bit like spogs. It is like, it's not very salty.
to me it's really salty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get salt first. I'm like, oh, yeah.
No, you get obviously the alcohol first,
Mm.
I think so, and then the licorice.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not as salty. Like some of the salted licorice is really,
Yeah. I mean, as a sweet, they are quite salty.
yeah.
Um,
Just gonna walk away with this.
I like that one, dear.
Just yeah.
Yeah.
Like that one.
Do you want a lid?
I don't need the lid. No.
No. Wow. There
Yeah,
you go.
no, that was good. That was
Rave review
definitely-
then.
yeah, yeah.
For, yeah.
You could market that, I think. Obviously,
They
you
may
can't
have
because
done already.
they
I don't know.
obviously already do it, but yeah,
yeah, Turkish pepper vodka.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
it is very good. It is
Yeah.
very good,
Yeah.
and it's so much more. I think I wouldn't have that many because it's quite intense, isn't it? Licorice is a sweet, so I probably wouldn't have that many of the, you know, like the Catherine wheels that you get. They've got spots in the middle. I'm not obsessed, honestly, but to drink, it would be dangerously
Yeah.
moreish, I think.
Yeah, which is what was
Yeah.
said before, I think, about
Yeah.
being dangerous. I think they meant is, yeah,
Yeah,
it goes down quite easy.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole pack of sweets in that jar.
Okay.
So,
So in terms of
also-
sugar, you'd be bouncing around the walls, wouldn't you?
yeah. Anyway, on that note,
Yes.
oh, before we go, we should give yourself a plug. So where can people find you on YouTube?
Find me. Probably, I'm Dark Bardess on anything. So yeah, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook as well.
Yeah.
I think I'm not. I don't know if I'm the Dark Bardess, one of those. I made them at different times and probably didn't think about it very much. But yes,
I'm sure if you search it, it'll
it will
come
I'm
up.
sure it will come up.
And as usual, I don't even know if people check, but I'll put them in the description underneath the video and in the show notes and all that stuff.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very
We've
much.
been rambling for quite a while, I think.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So
Ply me with food, you'll get
Yeah.
ramble.
so hopefully people are still listening. Or watching.
Do a test underneath. What is a spog?
Yes.
and see how many
What
people-
is a spog?
Your starter for 10.
That could be on Ocean's episode. She's going to do the best sweets around Europe as we travel. And we're going to do a competition where someone can win. I'm going to buy extras. So there's going to be
Salted
some sweets
licorice.
left over.
It's going to get contentious. Isn't
Well,
it?
anyway, we're gonna do that,
Yeah.
but we'll need some kind of competition. So I might link it in maybe and
Yeah.
like, tell me what a spog is, and you'll win the competition. I don't know. Anyway,
I'm going to try and make one now then.
yeah, Anglo-Saxon spogs.
Yeah. Just do it. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Spiljakar helgar kindir Næri og min í mögu heimdala Vilt vad jeg var för att förfylla Fjönspjätte fyra då är främst av man Havarar höldanar i mer viktig Var sanden jag ser en jag sår en här inne. Jag fann regen ge upp himni. Gab var till nånga en grasverge. Listen, all you children of Heimdall, whether rich or poor, you must be still. Odin has commanded a prophecy from me. Ancient tales of men I remember. In the beginning, in the time of Ymir, there was no sand, no waves, no sea. There was no earth, nor the heavens, a gaping void we call Ginnunga. Solter sortna sig för himna. Kurvar upp himmarstöro. Kisar heim I fidalt nara. Leikhauer hit I vidap himni. Sjölvan bred för en berg ska värnum värdas. Mån för strånga ser hon stilla. Skälver Yggdrasils askstandande. Imret hållna trägen jorden blåsna. The sun will darken, the land sink in the sea. The shining stars will fall from the sky. Blazing fire surrounds their life-giving world tree. Towering flames light the heavens brightly. Brothers will fight and kill one another. Cousins too will forget their kin ties. Yggdrasil stands shaking, trembling. The great ash groans, the giants are set free. Loose now, oh.
If you enjoyed the podcast or want to hear more, remember to like and subscribe and give me a rating. For recipes and ideas, visit my website saxonforager.co.uk. I also have 3 cookbooks available to buy on Amazon worldwide. These are Eat Like a Viking Volumes 1 and 2 and Eat Like a Halfling. Thanks for watching!